podcast. I pray you've been having a great day, a great week, all that good stuff. With this type of heat, I'm sure you're outside barbecuing, swimming, getting wet in the water hose, something to cool down because it's hot as heck out here. I can't wait for wintertime to come. Then when it's wintertime, everybody be complaining how like, man, it's cold out here, it's all wet. You can never please everybody.
Right.
Everybody always finds some reason to complain, but no, I count it a blessing though. I
Yeah.
love it. You know, what I mean, just you know what's crazy though? I like working in the heat. I just don't like kicking back in the heat. I don't. I could work in the heat and have like a perfectly fine day, but if I just got to stand around and
Right.
sweat, it just irritating. And right now, the air to me, I don't know, maybe I'm just like nervous or something. You got me all excited, Yvonne, because man, it was like, ooh, it's hot up in here. But everyone else in here saying, oh, it feels good. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, let me just chill out right now, right? Let me just kick back and relax, right?
Compared to outside,
Yeah, it's
it's
hot
nice and
outside,
cool in
really,
here.
really hot outside. But I just want to thank all of you for tuning in on this beautiful Sunday. Like I said, I pray you were having a great day and all that good stuff. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Really appreciate your support. As the numbers grow, it allows me to do more and more. I can't wait to get to that certain number where I could just do it from my phone wherever I'm at. You know what I mean? Because that's just so cool. But you got to have something like I think like at least like 2,000 or 20,000 followers or something before you could go mobilely live
Right.
on YouTube,
You'll be there. You'll
Yeah,
be
I'll be
there.
there. I'll be there. I'm just, sweating it out right
We
now.
just
So
got to
if
get
you,
Callie involved.
yeah, yeah. So all of yous tuning in, be sure to subscribe. I appreciate it. And man, today we are so blessed here at Trap Families. And I say Trap Family, the Trap Normal podcast. Same thing. It's just my website, um, my networking system's called Trap Families. You could go there later on at www.trapfamilies.com. There's a few different things there for you to check out. But this podcast is linked to that, which is Trap No More. And today we are definitely honored to have the beautiful, the lovely, the amazing Miss Yvonne Valera. I mean, we are blessed to have you. I mean, you've given us some good people on here so far, and we always mention you. You always hear us shouting out like Yvonne's name. Well, this is that Yvonne. Yes, the other Yvonne Perez that we had on here, she was a blessing, and thank you for her. For Pastor
Randy.
Randy, yeah, Pastor Randy, he was awesome. We had
Yeah.
Sandri,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Who else?
Dr. Richie.
Dr. Rich.
I
Well, that's my mentor. I'll
I
take
know.
credit for Dr.
I,
Richie. That's my mentor. That's my boy right there. But no, no, you
Alan
did suggest it.
Johnson.
Alan Johnson. Yeah, well, that was my counselor too, back in the day. But you did throw his name out there. But anyways, though, we are so happy and so blessed. This woman right here. I mean, I could go on. I could probably take an hour and just like exalting her and what she's done for the community. And when I say the community, I'm talking about not just here in Southern California, just all over the place. This lady has helped thousands upon thousands to, of course, with recovery, we don't ever want to take any kind of credit. We
Mhm.
we we never do that. Us,
Right.
in the field, but I would say you were a helping hand. You were a tool for many people to get on that track to, recover from addiction, from incarceration, from that street life, just that grimy way of living, period.
Right.
I mean, you've helped so many people and still helping them and still grinding and still doing what you do out here and in the prisons. And it's just, I mean, it's hard to find people like you that totally sacrifice, I mean, to help others, and I do appreciate you. I had the privilege a few times to see her in action while working with her out in the field. And, I mean, she's lovely and everything. I said, but when it comes to treatment, I mean, the pit bull comes out of her where she's like, you better stick it out and man, you better not run from treatment. And I was like, "Oh my goodness!" I was like, "I didn't see that coming," but that's who Yvonne is, man. This lady right here. So, with no further ado, we're going to just jump right into her story, and we'll take it from there. So, Yvonne, if you don't mind, just starting us off from the very beginning, tell us about your home, about your early childhood, your siblings, what it was like in your home, in your neighborhood, what you've seen, all that good
Right.
stuff.
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here. And I know I appreciate the compliments, but I think that if it wasn't for, for the man upstairs, I wouldn't be here.
Man.
And he's been there from the beginning. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody and just encourage everybody to get involved with trap families and utilize the services, utilize the opportunities because you also have a lot to offer. And I remember working with you at Saska. So, and this gentleman, I remember I crashed my car and you went out there in the heat and you buffed it out because I was afraid to go home. But I just want to tell you thank you. And you've been amazing.
Oh,
I
thank you.
watched you grow. And well, I've been fortunate to be alongside and see the amazing things that you're doing. So thank
Man.
you for what you do. And for me, I've worked so hard on figuring out, um, why I chose or why I went down the road that I did. And it all does start with the family. Um, my mom was 16 years old when she had me. My father was in camp. And so uh, I don't know if I was planned or it was an accident. So coming into the world with young parents, my mom, she was trying to find herself. So, at that time, I was fortunate to have extended family like my mom's sister and my grandmother. Um, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have had just the basic, necessities. And my father was incarcerated my whole childhood. So,
Mm.
I was one of those kids that visit every penitentiary in California as a kid. And I remember going with my mom and and just remember playing with the kids because it was usually the same kids that their parents were there. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not putting that lifestyle down, but I do know that influenced me because when I could have been in sports or I could have been doing something else on the weekend, my mom would spend her whole check. Back then, it was a welfare,
Mhm.
first and the 15th. And so I think it affected me in the sense where that became my social circle. And even though my mom, she didn't stay with my father, she ended up leaving my father after around 5 years. But I stayed real connected to my father's family. So my father's Native American. They're from New Mexico. And so I was lucky to get not my father, but the culture of my grandparents from my father's side because they were very stable, very loving. And then my mom's side's Mexican, so um, there was a lot of alcoholism and a lot of domestic violence on that side of the family. My mom had 5 sisters and 1 brother, and all my aunts were married to men that that were involved in substance abuse or alcoholism or incarceration. So I had 2 different sides to look at, but at the same time, um, it all influenced me to a certain degree. And so my mom, when she left my father, I remained connected to my father's family, which I grew up in El Sereno. So there's 2 sides of El Sereno. There's Huntington Drive. There's this side and the other side.
Mhm.
So I was lucky to be on both sides. And but when my mom left my father, um, I thought that she would be able to recognize why she was leaving and that she would something better would come out of it. But she ended up leaving my father for somebody else that was similar in nature.
Mm.
Same, had an issue with substance abuse. But I always kinda make a joke of it because where I grew up in El Sereno, and my stepfather was from San Gabriel, so I guess my mom thought she came up, so
Mm.
when you grow up in a certain area,
Yeah.
you think this area's richer, you
Mhm.
know, and, but it was the same circumstances, a lot of substance abuse, violence, and, a lot of domestic violence, and, I just wanna have say a disclaimer that I'm not blaming my mom or my father
Mhm.
because they did the best that they could, but I recognized over the years what played a role in why I made decision choices as an adult
Mhm.
or even as a teenager. But yeah, my stepfather was very violent, very involved in criminal behavior. My mom worked and he stood home and watched me. So he would take me boosting and, you know, I seen a lot of stuff that a kid shouldn't have seen.
Mhm.
And one of the impactful things that happened was my stepfather was a heroin addict and he called me one time to the restroom and he said he was tied off and he said, this lighter's broken. Go find me another one. Go get me another lighter. I remember running through the house and I was scared, but I was still conscious. I said, "What's wrong with him? I'm a kid.
Mhm.
Like, why would he do that?" But at the time, I was just afraid, so I grew up very fearful, very angry. And even though I remember saying that I would never do that, I would never do what I saw people doing, I gravitated towards kids that were in the same circumstances.
Mhm.
So in elementary school, the kids that were getting in trouble, the kids that couldn't read, the kids that were, um, that had a little bit more challenges at home, we gravitated towards each other.
Yeah. You could relate.
Yeah, we could
Yeah.
relate in a lot of ways. But I didn't know that then,
Yeah.
until I started getting in more trouble. Um, you know, the growing up, there wasn't a lot of emphasis on education. So I never really did good in school. I didn't know how to read or write. And but I just had a personality that the teachers liked.
Mm.
So, that was one thing that kind of helped me through the process. But around 11, I started ditching school. That's the first time I started experimenting with alcohol and drugs. I went to a ditching party and giving my age away, but we drank some T-Bert back in those days, smoked some weed, and once I did that, I remember like blacking out, and then when I came to it, I was like, "Oh wow, that's something that I want," you know, because I was escaping from the pain of my own experiences, and from that point on, that was it. My addiction did not progress like in years. It progressed right there. And um I knew that that would be if I wasn't good at anything, I was going to be good at that.
Oh.
So from that time on, I started hanging around with the kids and older kids that were getting in trouble, just involved in alcohol, drugs, gangs. And my first um, experience with incarceration was at 11.
Oh, wow. What
Yeah.
was that for? Tell me about it.
So GTA,
Okay.
um, burglary, breaking in houses, backyards, taking bikes, taking whatever we could.
So were
Yeah,
you doing this with older kids that were
older
a little bit
kids.
more okay.
Yeah,
You were, like, tagging along, like,
I was
learning as you
take
go.
I was tagging along exactly.
Did you start off as the lookout at first? Because I remember when we would take the
Yeah,
little
yeah,
homies, we would, just stand out there. If you see anybody, just yell, you know what I mean? Let us
exactly.
know.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah,
gradually go up inside the house.
exactly. Yeah. So we used to go to like the Rose Parade, and they would say, "Okay, go snatch these purses, Yvonne."
Oh,
They were giving me guidance,
yeah, yeah.
and what I was doing was I was learning to be my criminal
Yeah,
behavior.
they were mentoring you
Yeah, they were
into a
mentoring.
lifestyle that you're just a kid.
I
You
was
didn't
the
know where it
kid.
was going to take you.
I was a kid,
You just
yeah.
knew it was exciting during that moment.
And I felt accepted.
Accepted,
I
yeah.
felt loved. I felt
Wanted.
welcomed,
Yeah.
a part of. And so, for me, I started going to juvenile hall at a young age. And, I'm 60 years old. So back then, juvenile hall, there was only 2 units for girls. There was 1 penitentiary for women. There was 1 jail for women, not like it is today,
Yeah.
you know. And I went through the whole process. I went to juvenile hall, then I went to placement, then I went to a camp, then I hit youth authority when I was 14. So
And from one to the next, you
from one
felt
to
like
the,
you were smarter and smarter. You
and
thought
I
you were a
got
smarter
worse and
criminal, huh?
worse
And worse and
and
worse.
worse. Yeah, and I was willing to take risk and do things that I thought I would never do. Which I was involved in drugs and alcohol.
Mm,
And then the kids that I grew up with, all their parents seemed to be the same. One of their parents was incarcerated, and sometimes it was the mom, sometimes it was the dad, sometimes it was the kids in the neighborhood that they sold drugs. But yeah, I started getting high at a young age, and I went from alcohol, marijuana, PCP, you know, angel dust, super cools, to heroin at 14 years old. I was already indulging in heroin. And so, some people say incarceration, they look at it from different perspectives.
mm,
And for me, it saved my life,
mm,
because at the time, it didn't appear that way, because I was a girl and all my cousins at that time hadn't started doing time like that, like
mm,
going to youth authority yet, but they were on their way.
mm,
I just went faster.
mm.
And they used to think that something was wrong with me. Like I was mentally, severely, something was wrong, or
Yeah.
I was gay, or I was this, or I was that. And literally, what it boiled down to was that I had a lot of trauma. And back then people didn't know how to identify
Trust.
trauma
Yeah.
or talk about trauma. And they didn't say, what happened to you? They said, what's wrong with
Wrong.
you?
Yeah.
So um I I say this because the first time I went, I was 11 in juvenile hall, and I remember crying there, but I had to be tough, act tough. I had to put
Mm,
the mask on. And so I remember my mom's friend came to visit me in there, and I just act like I didn't want to help or anything, and I was just going to do what I had to do. But um, I got introduced to therapy, because back then I had went to this in juvenile hall. They put me like in the psychiatric um, ward area, and I got therapy for a while. But I remember the therapist saying, "We're doing a lot of good work, the 6 months of therapy, but you're going to go home to the same thing."
mm.
And so, if your mom and the family system, the family dynamics
Yeah.
doesn't change,
Yeah.
then what's going to change, right?
Yep.
So,
And you were still so young, so it wasn't like you could go anywhere else. It wasn't like you could just go get an apartment and start life on your own.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I just kept progressing. And I remember the last time when I went to youth authority. I mean, by this time, my mom, nobody could control me. I remember my mom begging me. She'd go look for me. My cousins would go look for me. They would think they were going to bring me back home, but nobody could control me at that time. So I got involved um, with other people, older people, and they did a armed robbery, and I was with them. So I went to youth authority. They sentenced me to youth authority. And I remember when you do the 90 days observation.
Yeah. Back then, you still went to SRCC,
Yeah.
Norwalk.
No, no, no. I
Oh,
went to Ventura
oh, Ventura.
because it was the only girls'
Oh,
youth
okay.
authority.
Oh, yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? I didn't even think about that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know us boys, we would go to SR, but I don't remember no girls ever being there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
that's right.
little
Yeah.
women back then. So I went there, and I remember that I went in front of the board. And because I never asked for help, or I didn't have anybody, like, they took for granted, like, you should know how to do time. you
Mhm.
know? So I remember going in front of the board and they said, "Oh, on January 13th at 8 p.m., you did X, Y, and Z. Why did you do it?" And I remember sitting there like I was hard, and I just, my shut,
Just shrug your
yeah.
shoulders, just
And then the whoever the parole people there, they just go, "Well, we'll give you 3 years to think about it." Because I thought I was going to go like on a 90-day observation and
yeah.
go home. They said, "No, we'll give you 3 years to think about it." And then I'm like, "Hey, wait a minute. I'll tell you why I did it." But by that time, they didn't want to hear anything.
Yeah.
So, I went to youth authority I ended up staying there like 2 years. And that's where I learned to read. That's where I learned more social skills, whether it was good or bad, and I had a lot of time to think about like what I was going to do with my life. So I had counseling, I had AA, I had NA, and I went to school. The best thing for me there was that I got an education. And when I got out, I was 16 years old. And I remember saying, how can how can I use all my skills to not go back to jail, but to keep doing what I was doing?
Mhm.
And I always struggle because I grew up in an era where, like, I was more attracted to gang banging than I was to my friends that were like in the disco scene or into
Mhm.
but my mom never let me or my brother dress like a gang member. But I think like because I didn't look like that, I looked more innocent and I got away with some stuff, you know, and my brother, which
Mhm.
I'll talk a little bit about that, but when I got out, I wanted to get married. I wanted to figure out this life of finding some happiness, but that was challenging because I came out with a lot of, um, distorted thinking, and especially about men. I had a lot of distorted thinking because remember, the male figures that I grew up with, none of them were very uh,
Good role models.
good
Some
role
were
models.
abusive, they were
Yeah.
drug addicts, gang members.
They
Yeah,
weren't
they were
very, the way they saw women, the way they treated women, and the way they treated their kids,
mm,
you know? Because addicts to me, the way I seen them, they were just so selfish, self-centered, and self-seeking,
yeah.
and, so it was really hard at that time. Yeah, so let me go back a minute because my mom, she was young. My stepfather, my mom had a baby from him. So there's only 2 of us, me and my brother. And my brother was 7 years younger than me. And he was very smart, very handsome, very had a great personality, very like a jokester, make everybody laugh. And when he turned around 24 years old, he became schizophrenic. We seen the onset of schizophrenia, but when
Mm,
he turned around 25, it was full blown.
mm,
And my brother had did 2 prison terms before that. So, you know, because of that, um, like environment that we knew, I was afraid for him to go back to prison
mm,
because I knew what would happen to him. But, we try to get him a lot of help because in my family, we didn't talk about mental illness.
yeah.
It was he was labeled something else, like lazy,
Mm,
all kinds of other stuff. Nobody wanted to
yeah.
say the true meaning of what was
Yeah.
going on with him. And come to find out, one time he was 5150, we went to go meet with the psychiatrist and go try to figure out how we could help him. And some stuff came out that um, he disclosed that he had been molested when he was a kid, and he didn't want to tell us who it was, but there's so many things that happened to him that we didn't know, that we were just looking at him from the outside of who he was as a boy, as a teenager, and as a man. And so what I found out that there's so much hidden secrets within certain families that people don't like to talk about
Oh,
on
yeah.
terms of the trauma,
Oh, yeah.
of why
They are the way they are.
people make decisions and choices,
Mhm.
you know, but yeah, my brother, yeah, the only time he would be semi um normal or balanced when he was taking his medication or he would smoke weed. But he every time he'd get stable, he would want to stop. And so then he'd go back to the neighborhood and hang out with his friends. And so when he was around 26, he was in the car with Yvonne Perez, her brother and my brother. They
Mhm.
all grew up together. We all grew up together. And they had a major shootout with another rival gang, and they end up shooting Yvonne's brother, and he hit a tree, crashed, and then my brother fell out. Then he got out of the car, and the rival gang made a U-turn and came and shot him. So he lived for around 2 weeks, and then he passed away.
Oh, man.
But part of what I recognized in that with that is that I come from a family with mental illness,
Mhm.
a family that has severe mental illness that a lot of times we don't wanna talk about,
Yeah.
like my grandmother, my uncles, there's all kinds of different, um, characters in the family,
Yeah.
with different, characteristics, and sometimes there's pedophiles in the family
Mhm.
that sometimes people don't want to, talk about,
Oh, yeah.
or
Yeah.
even the family sometimes will protect them
Yeah.
and then blame the kids, for whatever was going on. But, yeah, so, part of my, choices happened when I got out of youth authority. I had to make a decision, like, okay, I knew what I had to do to stay out, and I wanted because I was on parole for 5 years.
You were still young though, like
I was
15, right?
16
16 years
when I
old.
got out.
Yeah.
So, I was on parole until I was 21.
Mm.
So, I tried to do good, but I was always, like the devil and the angel, just
Yeah.
always battling for, influencing me. And, but I got out, I went back to school because I had got, the basic education. So I did want to go to school. I wanted to pursue school, but I was always just like battling, like which road to take.
Mhm.
One day I wanted to be over here with the homies, and then the other day I wanted to be over here with these people that were dancing and having a good time.
Mhm.
So, and I would go back and forth. And one of the hard thing was that I wanted to find a partner, because I was incarcerated. I
Mhm.
wanted to figure out what kind of man would I choose, and it was hard because I didn't receive a lot of love. And when I was saying about like not having a male role model, I knew after years that I found out that like girls that don't have their father, that it's very hard for them to get their emotional needs met.
Mhm.
So I always found men that could meet my needs emotionally. Didn't mean that I didn't have a boyfriend,
Mhm.
but I chose
There
people.
was something missing.
I always chose people that were distant, that didn't know how that felt either. Because if you don't know how it feels, how would you get it?
Yeah.
And if you got somebody who was, it would feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You were like, hey, back off. You're too close, you know? So, that was one thing that I discovered in terms of relationships, but I also didn't feel good about myself um as a kid. And so I always was looking for people to love me cuz I didn't know how to really
Love yourself.
I didn't love myself. I didn't know how that felt. And so, I would
Well,
get
you
in
you you knew how it felt, you just didn't know how to identify it, that you didn't love yourself.
right. Well,
Because
I
I
really
mean
didn't know how it felt. 'Cause my
mm,
mom wasn't a lover. I mean, like,
yeah.
she didn't have a lot of cariño or
Mm.
she wasn't very, um, you know,
Yeah, like, just that nurturing
the
that
nurturing, yeah.
mhm,
She wasn't nurturing, she was always mad, she was always angry. She worked 7 days a week. Even sometimes if I was sick, like if, my mom, because she was a hairdresser, so she didn't have PTO,
mhm,
so I remember if I was sick, I was afraid to tell my mom I was sick because there was times I was sick and she would make faces at me like, "Oh, man, I have to take you to the doctor. I'm gonna have to miss work." She would start saying all this stuff, so I would just keep it to myself. So if I had a toothache, I would just chew on the other side because I wasn't gonna tell her because she was gonna get mad and then she would go off. And my mom was a cusser, a yeller, a screamer, and that's how she survived her issues.
mhm,
So I took on that. And so I just became a person that didn't want to ask for help. I'll figure it out myself. And so that is another thing that messed me up because ended up developing a high tolerance for pain,
mhm.
physical pain. Because sometimes I to this day it's hard for me to go to the doctor, because I'll wait until I'm like in extreme pain to go rather than like most
Yeah,
people, they get their planner and they make their appointments for everything throughout the year,
yeah,
checkups. I have to be in pain. And then some of those things then I pass down to my kids, you know, because one thing my mom did teach me is work ethics. She worked 7 days a week. So I think for me, I took on a lot of that because that's what I got my validation from work.
yeah,
And but anyways, and I got out and I ended up dating a few people, but I was always looking for somebody that loved me more than I love myself.
mhm,
And I ended up getting married and I had a little girl. But this was within those 5 years I was on parole, so I still wanted to do what I was doing, and so I remember my parole officer, I had gave a dirty test, and he said, "You either go to this program or I'm gonna send you back." And he was a good parole officer, really good. Um, so I went to this program, and so my mom ended up taking my little girl, and, so I got introduced to Narcotics Anonymous, right? So, I didn't really stay clean for a long time, but I was a natural programmer. Anywhere I go, I'm a natural programmer. I know
yeah,
how to survive anywhere I go. And so I went through the program and I just try to beat, not go back to youth authority. But what happened is it just prolonged my my addiction, and it prolonged a lot of my pain, and it prolonged a lot of like um, issues with my daughter because I had a daughter, and the minute I had my daughter, I did the same thing that it was taught to me. I didn't know how to love her. I didn't know how to nurture her, and so I was to me I had like a coldness when it came to parenting. And I thought pumping fear into kids, just like it was happened to me,
mhm,
that they would do what you tell them to do. So
mhm.
if I look at you, you better do what I say, or else when we get home, this is going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
But those were things that would happen to me. So I had that little girl, and she went to live with my mom, and I went through a series of more um, trips to jail, and then I kept going in and out of jail, and until what happened was I had another little girl, and so I ended up having another little girl, and I called my mom from the hospital, and I said, "Oh, I came out dirty, but the baby came out clean. Can you come and pick her up?" And my mom said to me, "No." She said, if you can live with the fact that your little baby's gonna go to foster care and that you're okay with whatever happens to her there, then I have to be okay with it because I already have one of your kids.
Mm.
It ain't gonna be that kind of party where you just go out there and have kids and I'm gonna be taking care of them. You need to get yourself together because you have this little girl waiting for you. And it was really hard because a friend of my mom's, she couldn't have kids. So she called me up and offered me $10,000 for my baby.
Oh, wow.
And and I thought about it. You know why? Because from that point, from the points before, from the time before to that time, I had never had a job. I didn't have a driver license. I never had a I got GR. So I used to get what $215. So when she said she'll give me $10,000, I thought about it. And I called my other cousin and she says, "Don't do it cuz you'll never get clean." And she says, "Just get that little baby and come and stay with me for 90 days. If you don't like being a mother, then you can do it. But just don't give up. Just try it."
Mhm.
Because I was afraid of my that I didn't have the natural instinct to be a mom.
Mhm.
I didn't feel this connection I thought that I was supposed to feel as a female to have children. And but anyways, I did take that route and I went to Arizona with my cousin and I ended up developing a relationship with this little baby. And so that little baby is probably the motivating factor. Not that I don't love my other daughter, because I do, but that baby was a motivating factor because nobody wanted her. And my whole family, they were trying to give me tough love. They were
Yeah.
like, "No, we're not gonna take
Yeah.
her." And so
They didn't wanna enable you to go out there and get pregnant again,
exactly.
keep on using,
I
doing what you're
know.
doing.
I know. So, I came back and I had uh wanted to be do what I have to do. But, when I was I didn't say this, but my f- first marriage, so when he was in prison, I got pregnant from someone else. That's where I
Mhm.
had the second baby, you know. And so I had this dilemma, They were both on the same yard. They're
Mm.
both same prison, different yards.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision what I was going to do because usually I would lie to get what I wanted,
Mhm.
just like most people, their disease, right? And so I had to make a decision and I had to come clean because part of recovery is getting honest, right?
Yeah.
So I had to get honest. And so I remember going to visit my daughter, Sasha's father, and telling him, "Hey, you know what? Um, are we going to be together or not?" And he was in this facility, and there was girls there. It's a co-ed, so he probably had a little relationship going on or whatever he was doing there. But he says, "You know what, Yvonne? I'm never going to stop using. You better take yourself and the baby and go do what you got to do, because this is my life.
Yeah.
I'm here on a parole violation. Once I'm done, I'm going to go back to it. So, no, I don't want to be with you." And I remember saying to myself right there and then, I wanted to throw myself on the floor and beg him to love me. But I said, "No, don't do that." I said, "Just turn around, walk away, and don't ever look back. Don't ever look back." And that was probably the hardest thing because people say, "I'm not going to cut this person loose because I love them." No, I love that person a lot, but I knew that it was unhealthy for me and for my daughter. In order for me to stay on this track of
Mhm.
recovery, I had to accept that and I had to, you know, um, show up for these kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the outcome would be, but I had to do it. And anyways, I ended up walking away and I said to my little baby, "You know what? I'm not going to let you go to the system. I'm going to do everything I can to be there and to change my life." And by that time, I already had got off parole. But, I ended up having my baby. Then I ended up getting back with my first husband, and, we worked it out, and the way we decided to work it out is we went to church. So, one of the things that we went to church, and I think going to church helped me help my kids because I did not wanna take my kids to Narcotics Anonymous meetings because I was involved in both. I would go to NA, I would go to church
Mhm.
because I felt I needed those things.
Yeah.
But what I would go to church because I wanted my kids to go to Sunday school because I felt they could learn some, um, values that I didn't have. I
Yeah.
knew I didn't have everything to give to them, but I knew that God would give to them,
Yeah.
that I would have a place for them. And so that helped me build that relationship back and have a stable foundation for my kids as that for them growing up.
Mhm.
So I had my baby, I went back, we stayed in church, and then I had another baby. So but my middle daughter grew up with my husband, and he was very good to her, very good to the kids, and it was a great relationship. And so what happened was I came back. Okay, I got them, and I got a house, I got a car. I started getting these material things that you get when
Yeah.
you
You
don't
get
do.
cleaned up, yeah,
Yeah,
when
you
you
get
ain't doing
cleaned up.
wrong. You get to keep some of the stuff
You do.
you get.
But I always have struggled with criminal thinking. Always.
Yeah.
I've always struggled with trying to come up. I always felt like I had this Robin Hood syndrome where I had to take from the rich and give to the poor. And I would do that. If I went to Target and spent 20, you best believe I'm gonna steal 20. I always felt like I had to come back. I had to somehow crawl back.
Mm.
And so because I struggle with that, I thought because I didn't get high that I was just struggling with that I was okay.
Yeah.
But fast forward around, let me see, I ended up going boosting one day before Christmas. Matter of fact, it was the day before Christmas, and I got busted.
Mm.
Now, in between that, remember, I had a lot of jail stints and visits,
Mm.
right? And so they had the last time I got arrested, they gave me a joint suspended.
Mhm.
So this time, the day before Christmas, I got arrested. So I called my house. I said, I got arrested. Now, my baby's dad at the time, he's done time too. So he knew the drill. You're taking my stuff, so we're in this together.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you were doing crime, I was there. I'm doing this, you're doing that. We're in this together. So he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to have to call your mom to see if she could come and stay here with me to watch the kids. Because I already knew I was going to prison.
Mhm.
But the sad thing is that I went to prison sober.
Mm. You said the sad thing?
It's sad. Yeah. And I say that
For the
because,
holidays, so you were sober in jail for the holidays, and
yeah,
you didn't probably go to court for, like, 5 days probably, huh?
yeah, it
If
was
it
the
was, like, a
holidays
Wednesday, yeah.
and I was there. And then when I got arrested, then I went to court. The judge just said, he gave me 3 years. Boom. So I went to prison, and I remember because even though I didn't do a lot of prison time, I grew up in the system. So
Yeah.
when I got to prison, all my friends from juvenile hall,
Oh, yeah.
YA camp,
Especially with
placement,
women where it's a small
yeah, it's a
group, I
smaller,
mean,
yeah,
everybody probably knew everybody, especially everybody from, like, LA County.
yeah, LA County, yeah. But
Yeah.
when I got there, I said, you know what, Yvonne, you're a sick human being because there was days that I would cry out to God and say, God, just give me a good man. Just give me my kids back. Just give me a car. Just give me a house where I could take care of my kids. And you know what? I got all that back, but I went to prison, and I know that was um, the lesson for me. Because when I went to prison, I knew that drugs were not my problem, that it was the solution to my pain, and that I also had that criminal
Criminal, yeah,
thinking that really, um, got me
yeah.
to
It
where I
had a
was at.
grip on your life. That
Oh,
was
wow. It
yeah,
was sad.
yeah.
But anyways, I said when I got there, I said, "Now, it's about behavior modification." So, some people get into recovery for they go to social model, they go to medical model. Behavior
Therapeutic model.
modification
Yeah,
is Waldenhouse,
yeah.
right? So, I made sure that I stayed involved in a program that would help hold me accountable to my behavior. Lying, cheating, and conniving, because that is for me, that is what had me in the grips,
Yeah.
not just the drugs. The drugs were one of the
Secondaries.
it was secondary, but it was always lying, it was always manipulating, it was always
That's how you learned how to survive though as a hurt child.
as a hurt yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Yeah, so, when I was there, I knew for sure that when I got out, that I had to do something different. I had to do something different, and so when I got out, I did. I started going to church. I started going to meetings. I had to take medication. I even went enrolled in school. So for some people, they say, like I work at the jail, and I always tell the women, "What is your aftercare plan?" Because sometimes people think that they just have to get clean. They just have to get sober,
Yeah.
and I think that there's so many things that we experience if you've been in that environment, that there's layers and layers of things that you have to work on,
Oh yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's crazy that you said that though, because so many people think, as long as I stay clean and sober, I'm gonna be all right, because that's what usually gets me busted. But it's like it's the criminal thinking, leading up to that causes all the other issues. So
It does,
yeah, and that's
yeah.
why it's important for them to have, that aftercare plan.
Yeah, so I ended up coming home, and, right away I jumped into the, staying active, um, but for a long time, I had a lot of resentments to my mom and my father, you know, um, and I let that fuel my addiction, and I let it fuel anything that I did wrong. I let that fuel, um, by blaming them. And I remember I was in a treatment facility, and I was sitting in a group in a treatment facility, and I would always be like, "Yeah, if you only knew what I've been through, as a kid, blah blah blah." And I remember this one girl, which I would never even recognize today. She said, "Shut the F up, Yvonne. I'm so tired of hearing you cry every day about what happened to you. You're nothing but a hypocrite. Look at what you're doing to your kids." And I remember putting my hands under I'm like, "Oh, it's on and cracking when we leave this group, it's on." But the group had just started, so I had to be there like an hour. And
Let it sit
yeah,
in.
I was just like, oh man, I was upset. She pushed my buttons. But then after, right before the group, I said, "You know what? She's right. I am a hypocrite. She's telling me the truth. I don't know how I can't see that I'm a hypocrite. And how can I think hypocrite is being wrong when that's what I'm doing? I'm talking a good game about what they did to me, but I'm doing the same thing.
Mm,
I'm repeating the same patterns. I'm passing on the same trauma, if not more trauma, to my children."
mhm.
And I couldn't see it
Yeah,
because I was so wrapped up in poor me, poor me, poor me.
yeah,
I would always want to be the victim, and that's
yeah,
what they say criminal behavior is, the victim mentality.
yeah,
But I couldn't see that at the time. I couldn't like grasp that.
yeah. That's deep. Yeah, I remember someone telling me something similar. Where I remember I had shared something like, "Yeah, as a kid, I was this tough kid, and nobody would ever, say mama jokes about my mom because we'll be fighting fast." And somebody told me, "Man, shut up, man. You were the biggest disrespect to your mom, according to your stories, that you were getting your house shot up and you were doing this and you were doing that and you were selling dope out of your house. Why didn't you beat up yourself for disrespecting your mom's house, you know?" And I was like, "Damn, this was right." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's true, you know?
Yeah, and sometimes people say things. That's one thing I love about a behavior modification. They're very upfront.
Oh yeah, in your
They're
face.
yeah, they're upfront, and but that's what I needed. Some people say, "Oh no, I couldn't handle that if they told me this or that, or put me in the circle, gave me a haircut." No, but that's what I needed.
Oh yeah.
That I
Somebody
needed
like
that.
you couldn't just get a
No,
little, little tongue lashing and a
no,
slap in the hand because
yeah. So
you had already been through all that. The punishment wasn't working. That
no,
wasn't working.
no.
You needed some in your face, reality checks to really
And
make you
connecting those
process.
dots, like they help,
Yeah.
and those
Yeah.
people help me say, "Okay, yeah, that's why you're like that. Oh, you're like that. You're always late. You coming up in here late? Who do you think you are?" You know? But I couldn't see that at the time.
Yeah.
But I did need that because first of all, it was only me and my brother. I didn't have any older sisters. I came from a pretty big family with a lot of cousins, and I was very involved with my cousins. I was very tight with them. But there was a lot of uh, in that time, they all died, overdose, shootings,
Oh
getting
wow.
life sentences. So I lost a lot of family members, and me and Yvonne Perez, we have a deep connection because of our brothers. But she was gonna marry one of my cousins, and we were just really tight. Um, Growing up, so I just wanna give a shout out to her because she has been still a friend of mine from childhood, and sometimes it's hard to maintain friendships,
Yeah.
because people go in different directions,
Hmm.
but she's always been there for me, for my family, my mom, she's like family to me. So, um, I'm grateful for her
Amen.
and the work that she's doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I got out, a lot of my life changed because I got involved. I got involved in my kids' life. I became a crossing guard because I wanted to be with my kids at school. And then I enrolled in school. I remember, well, first when I got home, they gave me these three kids, and then because I was telling you about my brother, when he passed away, his baby's mama had a baby in jail. So my mom went and picked up the baby, and the mother never came back. So my mom said, "Can you take care of this baby?" Then I have a cousin um, that lived up the street, and she got shot in the head, execution style.
Oh man.
And her baby went to her mom. And so her mom said, "Oh, since you already have those three kids, can you take care of this one?" So I couldn't say no at the time because they had did so much for me. That
Yeah.
was my way of giving payback, giving back. But there was moments that I wanted to go call social service on myself, go make anonymous tip call at the corner, like,
To be
"Hey, go get
rescued,
these
huh?
kids." But I had to learn, and the way I learned, believe it or not, when I go to the market, I would see how other mothers were talking to their kids. I wanted to learn patience. I wanted to learn tolerance. I wanted to learn to love my kids in a more healthier way. And that was hard. That was very hard, not because I grew up spanking, getting hit. So I used to hit my kids. I thought pumping fear in them was going to
Yeah.
put them in the right direction. And the other thing is, I thought if I got clean, that my kids were going to grow up to be doctors and lawyers. That didn't happen.
Hmm.
You know, the residue of my trauma was passed down to my kids, and my kids are the best kids, but they still struggle.
Yeah.
They're struggling with life based on the information they received. Not only the information they received, but the influences of the family dynamics,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So, um, no, but I do love them, and I'm there, and I do my best to be a good role model and to do my best to be present and available to my beautiful 3 daughters, 7 grandkids, and I have 1 great grandson. My granddaughter just had a baby a few months back. But yeah, so I went to school, and that was the reason why I went to school because my aunt, she said, I'm can you watch the baby Ernie? Can you watch Ernie? Because I'm gonna go enroll in East LA College. I'm gonna go on Tuesday night. I said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go enroll in East LA College," because I was like, I can't take another day with these kids. I have to get out. And so I enrolled in school. We both enrolled in this class. She dropped out and I stayed. So I went through the addiction studies program, and that's where I met a lot of people in Walden House at the time.
Mhm.
Jose, Jeremy, a couple other guys, they were going to school there. And I stayed and stuck it out. And then at the end of that process, I got I finished this addiction studies program. And I had never wanted to work. And then my husband at the time says, "Well, aren't you going to get a job?" I'm like, "No, I just went to school because that was my way of getting out of the house." But then they offered me an internship, and then they offered me a job. And then, and then luckily that my career um, took me to, well, what happened was we sound the swap meet toys, and then we ended up buying a house in Palmdale.
Mhm.
So that's how I got my job in Tehachapi. So when I got up there, um, I was a counselor there, and that was my first introduction back into the prison.
Mm.
But when the alarms would go off, I didn't know if I was a counselor or an inmate. I wanted to get on the floor. I still was struggling because I was really new
Yeah.
to the recovery
Mhm.
and out of, because not only did I leave incarceration, but I was always connected in there,
Mm.
sending boxes, communicating,
Yeah.
knowing who was what, who was going down, what,
Yeah, yeah,
Taco,
yeah, yeah.
Greasy Horseface, Chongo, everything, who was what was going on. So I had to move away from that mentality.
Mhm.
So when I went to work in the prison, that's where I met the guys that was there in the program. And then I transitioned from there to Long Beach. And then from there, I went to Saska. But I was fortunate enough to have these jobs. And and then I remember I was working with Alan, and he said, "You better go back to school," because he said, "I see the writing on the wall how things are going to shift in this
Yeah, agency,
industry."
yeah, industry.
So
Mhm.
I went back to school and I got my bachelor's degree, which was very hard because I wasn't like a natural student.
Mhm.
I used to have to go to tutoring every Saturday, and I remember the tutor said, "How did you even get in college? You
Oh,
don't know how to
wow.
you keep making the same mistakes." And I remember when he said that, I'm gonna quit. But then another voice told me, "No, make him work for his money because he's getting paid. So just keep showing up and everything will work out."
Yeah.
And I made it through it. And so I've been very fortunate with having, making that full circle. Um, and what I have done is just made a commitment to working. My whole career is working with people incarcerated or
Yeah.
formerly incarcerated. And today I work at the Linwood Jail, and I've been there since 2012 in several different positions. But I think for the rest of my career, I'll be working with people incarcerated, and I love working with the women. And when I was working with the women there, um, I remember COVID came. So when COVID came, I said, "You know what? I'm just going to work on making a plan to how we're going to build that program back up, build some curriculum." Because I used to interview the girls and to see who was in there. I always
Mhm.
wanted to know who was in there, who had certain situations. And so I spent like maybe a year writing a curriculum, and that's where I wrote the connecting the dots
Mhm.
and repairing generational trauma.
Yeah. And what she's identifying is the book that she wrote. Let me see it real quick. And she'll probably share a little bit about more about what it is, but It is connecting the dots, repairing generational trauma, and it makes sense, the way she was, been sharing her story, how, eventually it came to realization of why she was making these adult decisions,
Mhm.
and it was connecting the dots, which aimed at a lot of trauma in your youth and in your early, young life and all that, you
Right,
know?
yeah.
But yeah, you could find it on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, all
Mhm.
that good stuff, yeah.
No,
It
Amazon only.
only Amazon?
Mhm.
Or it's not online yet?
No,
No?
just on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, so on Amazon, you could connecting the dots, is that the best way of finding it or your name?
Yvonne Vollaire.
Oh, okay, yeah, so you could put in her name and it will pop up, but it's not just a reading book, it's actually a
It's a
workbook.
workbook.
It's a workbook. And, you're probably thinking in your head right now, I know some people that could use that book, but the thing is, it's probably for you to use and work through it to help that person, that friend,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
it's like women who've been impacted by incarceration, right?
Yeah.
And exploitation and addiction. But
Mm.
addiction could be anything that interrupted your daily routine of life.
Yeah.
So it's not just like drugs, because what I found, there was a lot of women going to jail that didn't do drugs,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of domestic violence, the human trafficking, sex work, all the sex work that's being promoted on social media. A lot of times women don't young women don't realize the long-term
Oh,
effect
yeah.
on their spirituality
Yeah.
and how that's going to really affect them,
Yeah.
as they get older, because that's a market for young
Yeah, yeah.
people.
Yeah, you grow out of it eventually, but you can't get
No, they
out.
force you out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because once you're over a certain age,
Used and abused.
who's gonna who's gonna
Yeah.
wanna who's gonna wanna get a 30-year-old when they could get a 18 or 16 or 15-year-old?
Mm, sad.
So that's the market, though. I mean,
Yeah. No,
there's a
it's true.
market out there, and porn, um, sex work is the highest lucrative industry right now.
Yeah.
But it's only lucrative because we have buyers.
Yeah.
So who are the buyers?
Yeah, people.
I don't wanna put people on Front Street,
Yeah.
but they could be our neighbors, our fathers, our brothers, our uncles,
Yeah.
the fire department, the policeman, the mailman, the UPS man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it wasn't, then it wouldn't
Yeah, it
be as
wouldn't be a
lucrative.
demand. Yeah, there wouldn't be a demand for that business, but it is what it is, This world's perverted and,
And
you
that's
know
one thing people don't like to talk about, is that the sexual deviant behavior that's in the family system that sometimes goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
Little kids experimenting with each other, brothers experimenting with sisters, uncles, brothers, neighbors, friends, all this stuff that I think that when I work with the women, I loved hearing Dr. Ritchie and Sandri, but Dr. Ritchie talked a lot about, he said, I think 1 out of 3 girls, but in the jail, 98% of the women incarcerated have been sexually abused.
Yeah. By men within their own family. Yeah,
And the
that's
and the
crazy.
stories are just heartbreaking,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the thing is, how do we get better? How do we heal the family system if we're avoiding some of the hard topics
Yeah.
to talk about? How do
Yeah.
you help?
Yeah, most families rather just push it under the rug, knowing that somebody in the family's, going through it, they're not right, in some aspects, and they don't want to dig into it because they know they got a hint, they got a
There's
little,
signs.
yeah, and they're like, I don't want the truth to come out that my boyfriend, my husband, or somebody, her
Yeah.
brother or somebody's touched her or something and has caused the trauma,
And then, because guess what? Usually what comes out of it, that it happened to them.
Yeah,
So it is a generational, uh, you know,
yeah,
uh,
just continues.
trauma that is passed down, that nobody hardly is able
Yeah.
to talk about it. And if we don't talk about it, how can we get there? Because I follow this Dr. Gabor Mate. he says every child is going to experience trauma, but
Yeah.
the only way we come out of trauma is having a loving and nurturing family system
Yeah.
to say, "Hey, if it happened, let's get you help. Let's work
Yeah.
through it. Let's identify it. Let's not keep it a secret
Yeah.
anymore."
Yep. It's true. I was thinking right now, I mean, something was triggered in me while I was thinking about when I was working at Tip, and I used to interview the women. All the women had to go through an interview with me because I was trying to figure out if there was a father, a boyfriend, a male model, any whether it was grandfather, an older brother, any male figure in their lives that could connect with the children of Tip, right? And I would interview them and stuff. And one day, this one girl, she was kind of big, and she um she would just mad dog me all the time, like just hated me from a distance. And I was just like, I ain't did nothing to her. I ain't never even pulled her up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I ain't never had to, really no kind of communication with her one day. And I got along with all the women there. Most of them, almost all of them. This girl comes in one day and she says, "You know what, Joe? I just want to apologize to you." And I said, "For what?" She said, "For hating you." And I said, "I kind of felt that, but why did you hate me for?" She said, "Because you're a man." And I was like, "Okay." And she started like sharing her story with me and stuff. She said, but she was like, all glory to God, you know what I'm saying? Because she was like, I see the way you treat women, and it gives me a little bit of hope that there is men that ain't trying to purposely hurt us and abuse us and take advantage of
Mhm.
us and, exploit us or anything like that. And after that talk, when she got that off, she became cool with me. She started talking to me, and
Right.
every morning I finally got like some good mornings instead of a mad dog. It was kind of like, "Hey, what's up, Jojo?" And it just reminded me though, that man, there are so many women that are just, and even guys too, there's guys especially, but like we were sharing earlier, it's even that much harder for them to talk about it and to reveal it, and especially expose the home, out of fear and shame, and they don't want to be ridiculed and put to be a victim like
Mhm.
it's their fault. So yeah, that's very, you
Yeah,
know,
when I worked in Tehachapi, the guys would sometimes share, and the hard part was that usually the women, it's a male figure with the women. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's a female too. But when it comes to the men, it's usually a male on the men. So they say 65% of men have admitted that been incarcerated, but they believe the numbers are
even
extremely
higher.
higher because most men are going to take it to the grave.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
hard, but it's in the family and it all starts there. And so, you said denial. Denial is failing to see the threatening aspects of our life. And sometimes we want to avoid it because it's too painful.
Yeah.
What would you have to do if you had to choose between your two children?
Yeah.
One that may have hurt the other child.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's boy on boy, sometimes it's boy on girl, or sometimes it's experimental. It's not always like extreme, but still, even in that case, I think that we need to talk more about it. I think that has to be a conversation that takes place in schools without, disrupting the family, but having conversations and even teaching the kids,
Yeah.
how to work through it. Because all the women that I work with, they're all resilient, beautiful human beings. And if they survived it, their kids are,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we have to have an arena. We have to have a platform for women and men to talk about it so we can get, and I know that we have therapy and we have a therapist here, but I think that it should start in the school. It should start early. It should start at home. It should start
Yeah.
in a place where we can try to help that person.
Yeah,
But
and
if you
stop it from going on. You gotta
you
eventually
gotta
try to
stop it.
stop it,
You have
before
to,
the next generation is affected by it.
because that's what happens. Where
Yeah.
do they end up? Self-destructive behaviors.
Yeah.
Most of, and then the foster care system is, I mean, a lot of the girls come out of the foster care system. So, like, I mean, there's a lot of things that go on, but thank God that we have programs like yours and other programs that are out there trying to intervene. And I like what Alan was saying that he told we were talking. He said there's always an intervention for different people.
Yeah.
You know, there's different interventions that meet the different needs for different people.
Yeah.
So it's not one way.
Yeah. And it's to them families out there that are struggling, and you think that nobody understands, and it's not addiction, it's not this, and it's they're special, what I mean, like their situation special, and it's like even in them situations, there's somebody that's willing to help in them situations. It's just it's hard sometimes. I mean, sometimes finding the right help is so hard sometimes. That's why I'm so grateful that us in recovery, we have so many different resources where we learn not to depend upon ourselves, because
Mhm.
I mean, I don't hesitate to, like, not pass the buck, but say, like, you know what? There's somebody that's a lot more advanced than me. There's somebody way more educated in this specific area than
Mhm.
me. Like, let's get you there, though. You know what I'm saying? And I always tell my wife every time. It's funny though, because my wife, every time we get some phone call, hey, this is what's going on. My wife always automatically, oh yeah, my husband will help you. You know what I mean? And she's knowing that I'm probably not the one that's gonna be able to help, but she's like, "Yeah, but you know somebody," and it's true, us in recovery, we've all went to school and got certified in different areas, certain things that just we gravitated more
Mhm.
so to, just like with Dr. Ritchie, last week, he's been working a lot with like sexual offenders, and it's a
Mhm.
real thing, you know what I'm saying? And anybody that would come across my path like that, I mean, that's not my specialty. That's not something that I've ever really, I mean,
Mhm.
really worked with. But I know Dr. Ritchie has a passion and he has an understanding, and he's very, you know, tangible in that area of giving good help.
And we need more people
Yeah.
because believe it or not, if you I remember we did this when I was working with the sheriff's department. They did a like a survey. There was over 600 sex offenders living in downtown Skid Row.
Yeah.
That's where they can
That's
gather,
where
right?
yeah.
But that's also where they're putting women with children.
Mm.
So I mean,
It's like it's a salad bowl that's just ugh.
it's so, but nobody wants to talk about it. I
Yeah.
know Alan, Dr. Ritchie, and Sandri. They are in the forefront of trying to work with sex offenders. But there's so many people who never got caught.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I probably could have been a sex offender because I was having sex in the park. I mean, there's certain things that happen, or me being with somebody that when I was 16, being with somebody 21. So there is a lot of things that go on, and we're not educating our kids.
Yeah.
We're not educating the children or the kids to know what's right from wrong because we don't have the boundaries.
Yeah.
Sometimes families they sleep all together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's experimenting, and then there's when they cross the line.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is a
Yeah.
topic that
It's
I think that we're trying to bring to the forefront, and we're trying not to crucify people,
yeah.
but to get them help. Because I know at Bold we work with sex offenders, and sometimes I'd be there, and people even say, "How could you even do that?
Yeah.
That's disgusting."
Yeah, but
But
it's like if we don't help them now, they're gonna just hurt more
repeat
people.
more,
Yeah,
right?
we gotta try to,
Well,
stop it somehow, some way.
If they're there, the community's safer. So where
Yeah.
would you want them to be?
Yeah,
Rather
exactly.
have them be at Bold than to be in the street or
Yeah.
at someone's house, because I even tell the women a lot of times. The women, we talk about where they when they get out, they go to the welfare office, they go to parole office, they go to probation, they go to
Yeah.
get GR.
GR,
And
yeah.
then who do they hook up with? Somebody else
Douse
that just
there.
got out,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So you have a gentleman that has a ankle monitor, and he says, "I'm high control parole," and they think they scored because he's someone,
Yeah.
but they don't say check Megan's law
Yeah.
to see if this person. is high control parole because he's a sex offender or because he's a
Yeah.
gang member.
Yeah.
But both of them have challenges.
Yeah.
So it's not only it's women too, doing a background check, knowing who you're going with, who you're dating, getting their paperwork, just like you go to prison. Where's your paperwork? Well, give me your paperwork.
Yeah.
And don't just take people home
Yeah.
because they look clean, they look clean cut.
Innocent. Yeah. Yep.
Are they working or this or that, whatever their reasons are, because that what perpetrates this ongoing
Yeah.
illness.
Yep. It's crazy. Hey, before we go any further, we ain't done yet, but do you mind if we open up the phone lines?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, what time is it? Let me see. Oh yeah, 7:20. So if you guys are tuned in still, which I know you are, and you would like to call in, ask some questions, you, man, we would appreciate your phone calls. Give us a call in, and it's up on the screen, or it should be going up there. But the number is oh man, I almost gave him my son's number. uh, and look at, I'm actually calling my son trying to get the phone number, but the phone number is 626-367-9275. I'm eventually going to memorize this number. I'm not good in numbers, but 626-367-9275. Feel free to call in if you have any questions for myself or for Yvonne. Phone lines are open. We appreciate the calls. We love the feedback. We love the conversations. But Yvonne, man, I mean,
Unknown
right
caller.
away. Let's see. Good evening. Thank you for calling Trap Families. Hello, can
What's
you hear me?
up?
What's up? Who we
What's
speaking
up,
to?
Yvonne?
Is it Yvonne?
Yes,
What's going on, Yvonne? Why don't I have her number saved in here? I'm sorry about that, Yvonne. I should have this number saved. How you
that's
doing?
okay. I'm good. I'm good. I just want to say to Yvonne, I'm so, so proud of her. Just to hear the stories, the challenges, the ups and downs, everything that we gone through in life, deaths in the family, but through it all, we learn to trust in Jesus. Through it all, we cling to it's like there's a story in the Bible that talks about clinging to the hem of the garment, even though it was a sickness that she had, but she knew that Jesus was the walking word, and she grabbed that hem and she held on to it. And I just want to encourage Yvonne, just hold on to that hem, Yvonne, because God has so much more for you, so much more for you. And I want to see that part 2, connecting the dots.
Mm,
The part 2, connecting the dots. Yes. So you keep going, keep doing what you're doing, and I'm excited for the Constant Car Show. It's going to go on in Jesus' name. And yes, and I just wanted to say, I always think of this. Sally, Yvonne's mom, she used to call us double trouble, and now we say we're double blessings.
amen. That's right.
Yeah. So, Yvonne, I love you. I appreciate everything that you guys do. You have such a great heart. Even back then, I remember you guys always trying to help me. I remember Carmen always asking me, what do you want to do with your life? So I thank God for your family. And I know God put us together for a reason, for a purpose, and for a plan.
Thank
Amen.
you. Love you, Yvonne.
All right,
Love you
Yvonne.
too.
Thank you, Yvonne. We're going to take this other call. Thank you, Yvonne.
All right. Okay. Family, and I know God
Hey,
put
what's going on, Chris?
Hey, what's going on, Kana?
Brother,
So,
you
was
you
this?
live, brother. You live.
Thank you.
All right, all right.
Thank you,
Hey,
Yvonne.
do me a favor, Chris. Turn down your TV in the background.
Hey, what's
Okay.
going on?
Yeah, hey, what's going on, Jojo? Listen, hey, Yvonne, how you doing?
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, me and my wife were home, touched in, and we just wanted to say thank you for always being there for the population we serve. Right, you lead by example. You're a good mentor, and we appreciate that. Right, because every chance we get, just like Jojo said, people come to us and for help, right? Sometimes, the help that they ask for, we're not able to provide. So we always have these avenues such as yourself and Jojo. And that's a beautiful thing, in recovery and being in the field. So I just wanted to call in, tap in, let you know that I support you guys. Jojo, you're my brother. Yvonne, man, you're beautiful. We love everything you do and what you're about. And we just wanted to call in and let you know that we support you.
Good
Love you,
looking out,
Chris.
Chris. We do love you,
Love you,
brother. Thank you.
Sonia.
Thank you, Sonia.
You got it.
Chris is better
Okay.
half.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my better
Sonia
half. Yeah.
makes Chris shine.
Yeah, she makes him
Yeah.
stronger.
Yep.
That's
I
right.
love her.
That's right. Okay, well, thank you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Get some
All
rest,
right.
brother Chris. Knowing you got to go to work in about 3 hours or so, huh?
You already know.
Yeah. Get
All
some
right.
rest, brother.
All
God
right.
bless. We'll talk to you soon. All right,
Likewise.
brother. Good evening. Thank you for calling Trap No More.
Hi, this is Sandra from the San Fernando Valley. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi.
San
Oh my God.
Fernando's in the house.
Yes. I was really nervous to call in, but Yvonne, you inspire me so much. And every time I think of making some wrong choices, you're like the first one that comes to my mind. And I just appreciate everything you do. And not even 10 minutes when then you were talking, I was already crying. So you're somebody that I would love to be someday. And I just thank you for doing what you're doing. And thank you for staying and letting us know that recovery is possible. And I love you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Tell Jojo I love her. I see
will.
her. Love you, Joe.
All right, love.
Love you, Sandra.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's many of people that, want to just, call in and give some love because
Unknown caller.
that's who you are. See? Let's answer it. Thank you for calling in. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on Trap No More podcast. Who we speaking to?
Oh, hi. This is Diana.
Hi, San Fernando's in the house.
Oh my God. I just love you so much, Yvonne. I am so proud of you. I've known Yvonne probably a little over maybe 10, 12 years. It hasn't been that long. Oh, I'm hearing Sandra. Oh, hello?
Yeah, you're still on. We hear you.
Oh, okay. Oh, and I just wanted to say I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to hello?
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
we could hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, you're here.
Oh, it's weird. This is crazy.
Do you have the podcast on in the background?
I do.
Oh,
Is that why?
if you lower it, yeah, because you're hearing doubles, yeah. So if you lower the TV,
Oh,
it won't sound
there we
crazy.
go. Okay. So I just Yvonne has been such an inspiration. She inspired me to go to school. She's helped me in so many ways, and I'm just so honored and privileged to be in her life. And I just I don't know where she gets the energy. She's 60 years old, and I think she has her mom's genes, of course, because you and your mom, boy, you're both go getters. And anyway, I love you. I just wanted to call in and tell you thank you for everything you do, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Diane. I love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Diane's my
That's right.
sponsor.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
That's right. All them San Fernando people calling in.
Yeah.
That guy said, "Man, she put her age out there. Bless her heart." Don't even look at. That's right. That's a good 50 looking. But
60.
no, but we're just saying no.
Oh, yeah.
We're
The
saying
new,
that
the
60
new,
looks 50.
the
That's
new
what I'm
50.
saying. Yeah, that's
yeah.
the new 50. But yeah.
Thank you.
But man, so what do you got coming up? I know there's a few different things
Yeah.
coming up.
Well, part of the Forgotten Children, I'm working with Yvonne for the car show and concert to help human trafficking, help women exit the sex work industry. That's September 7th at El Sereno Park, right in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
So we'll be helping
Is
people
there
to
a specific website where people could
Yeah.
get that flyer?
They can go on Forgotten Children.
Forgotten Children, Robert? We'll put that on there. And we mentioned it in our last podcast. I think did we put the flyer up? I think we put the flyer up somewhere. So I
Yes,
think it's somewhere on my website, something. But
that's a big thing.
Huh?
We have
Forgotten Children. Help.
Forgotten Children Inc.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys could log on there and get the exact date, time, address of that event. It'll be nice and cool by then.
Yeah.
September what?
September 7th, and then
Oh, that's right before Labor Day, huh?
after.
Oh, after Labor
Yeah.
Day. Okay.
And then I'm part of the Third Step Ministry. So the Third Step Ministry is an organization who help women in recovery, and we're having a big event at the Quiet Canyon on September 21st.
Okay.
And all women in recovery are welcome. It's a beautiful event that they just make this beautiful event for women. Part of Bow Recovery. So, I'm also employed by Health Break 360. So we do a lot of work with women incarcerated. But Health Right's huge. They're the biggest behavioral health in California.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I do a lot of things. I do workshops. I do book clubs. We have a consulting firm that we go into programs and work with counselors, do training for CEUs.
Oh, nice.
And professional development hours for people that are registered. So yeah, I stay busy, and I just want to pass the baton to the next generation.
Yeah.
But I do want to just say that I know that I said a lot of things and I left a lot of things out, but the main thing is that in the book, this workbook, I always talk about forgive your mother, forgive your parents, so that your children can forgive you and their children will forgive them, because that's part of repairing the generational trauma, because all parents are going to make mistakes. All
Yeah.
parents are going to um, fall short in certain areas, and we want our kids to give us grace,
Yeah.
so their kids will give them, because if not, we're going to hold on to resentment, and then that fuels whatever behavior that's connected to it.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
I just want to say that I look at my assets and my liabilities. And even though I had a lot of liabilities, the assets came out. I got the assets from my mom, which I said, beautiful work ethics. My mom's a beautiful human being. She's taught me a lot of great things,
Yeah.
and she does a lot of great work in the community. She's deep in the community. She knows she knows everybody from any she could talk to the president and the person that's homeless, and she helps in between.
Yeah.
So, I have a beautiful mom, and my children are beautiful. I love them, and I just want them to know that a lot of times I could not articulate a lot of like forgiveness or articulate certain things to them about things that might have affected their childhood or their adult life. But this book is to repair generational trauma,
Yeah.
and that is the legacy I want to leave.
Yeah.
Is that how do we help that next generation?
Yeah. And it's important to, for us in recovery, we get clean and sober, we get on the straight and narrow, and we start helping all kinds of people. And I know for me, for a quick minute, Yvonne, I forgot about my own family. I forgot, like, I'm out here trying to, and I know sometimes the family's the hardest
Mm-hmm.
people to, to help, you know what I mean? Just because they're stubborn and, it's like they know us, though. They know where we come from. They know what we've done. They know what we're about. Why aren't they listening? Like, for real, it gets so frustrating trying to have family. But you know what? I think in the process of them just seeing us being
Mm-hmm.
consistent and moving forward and doing what we do is where there's some form of healing that takes place, just knowing that, you know what? My mom ain't who she once was, my dad ain't the same dude that he was,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying to work through his stuff and trying to get to, because even with me, I mean, you met my son, my oldest son, and for almost 13 years of his life I was gone,
Right.
and when
Yeah.
I came home, finally, I had a teenager that was already going through all his hormones and
Mm-hmm.
trying to identify himself. You know what I mean? His character, everything was still being formed. And for me, I had that hardcore dad that, didn't really, so how was your day and blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah, and all that emotional stuff, His thing would come home and, did you clean the yard? Did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
You did your homework? All right, cool. Go to his room, he'll drink. And that was my
Mm-hmm.
relationship for
Right.
a long, and same thing with me and my son, but I wasn't drinking, but I was out and about doing everything else but being there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes, like, it's like so hard to, as parents,
Mm-hmm.
to open up that can, like, let's work this out. You know what I mean? Like, let's go to treatment together and try to,
Mm-hmm.
work out any of the pains that we may have caused one another.
Because there's residue.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
long.
good
I
thing.
mean, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? You can't take every nick and cranny out of every corner. So
Yeah.
there's always, to me, there's always residue,
Yeah.
and I still see it. Like sometimes I want to say something, but I have to figure out what is the best way to say this without crushing someone's spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that part.
Because I don't want to push people
Yeah.
away, but I do want to make sure that I use the opportunity not to say, "Oh, no one's ever told me." No, I want to make sure I figure a way out to say it,
Yeah.
because I know when I always used to have the regrets. Like, I wish somebody would have told me that. I wish
Yeah.
somebody would have just taught me that. I wish somebody would have pointed that out to me. So, it is a lifelong process to me of healing the family system.
Yeah.
And but I do have a loving family. I mean,
Oh,
the
yeah.
family that I do have, I have a beautiful aunt that stood in the gaps when my mom wasn't there, Carmen. I have my beautiful cousin, because she lost her two brothers, so she's everything to me too. We're very tight. My three daughters, my grandkids, um, my best friend over here. So I mean, I can't complain about the gifts that God has given me. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
I'm very, very thankful for where I am. But when it comes to like addiction, I know sometimes we put the pipe down and we pick up the fork, or we put like I know I'm a workaholic. I
Yeah.
know I am. And sometimes I justify it by saying, well, I'm going to make money because I want to make sure I do everything I can for my kids without stealing,
Yeah. Yeah.
without putting on
Yeah.
the mask and the gun and doing crazy things.
Yeah.
So I do want to work hard, but I always stop myself to try to spend quality time. Like my grandson plays football. He's
Yeah.
8.
You're out on the sun
And you're
for
in the sun and I'm all sweating. And there was many times I would say, I'm gonna go in the car and get air conditioning. But all those other parents are there. So I
yeah.
gotta stick it
Tough
out.
it out. Yeah. Shoot, if they could do it, I could do it,
Yeah.
right?
But it's about, um, sacrificing, but at the same time, continuously learning how to become a better human being and
Yeah.
better father, better mother, better grandmother,
Yeah.
because I do want to save that next generation,
Yeah. I know you
whatever I
do.
can.
You're definitely putting in the work. Yvonne, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us. Hey, I'm excited about Friday being with you guys.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
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 So
Well,
JoJo's gonna be at our multicultural conference with CCAP. So that's another thing I'm involved in. I'm a board member of CCAP because I want to stay abreast of the the work that we do, the
Yeah.
industry. So yes, I'm so happy. And then the other thing is you came to my 60th birthday.
Yeah,
I
and
was
that
so
was
happy.
beautiful. Even though I was an hour late and I thought I was like 10 minutes early, and my wife's like, "Let me see that invite again." And I was like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here? Did they change the hours or
Oh
something?"
man, I was so
I was
happy you came.
yeah, but we got there right on time. I mean,
Yeah.
you would have thought that was a $1 million party because man, you had all the celebrities there. You had people.
Oh yeah, my
It
whole
was so beautiful,
family. Alan,
that black and
my
white
yeah,
atmosphere. It
it
was
was beautiful. It
beautiful.
was it was I'm still I still like it brings me a lot of joy when I think about it. So I'm happy that I got to have that
Yeah.
in my life. I never
Yeah.
had a quinceañera. I never had a big wedding. So you know what? That was beautiful.
It was, it was. I mean, you guys have put that all together. You guys hit that out the park because it was just beautiful.
Yeah, it was
Everything was
beautiful.
beautiful. It was
Yeah.
just fun to think that there was and when you said that, probably 99.9% of everybody in here are ex-addicts and
Yeah.
ex-convicts, and there was a lot of people. There was a lot of people, and it was so crazy how we all knew each
I
other
know,
from
isn't it?
from different places and whatnot, and some of them I didn't see in a long
I
time.
know.
Yeah, yeah, it was very beautiful, but yeah, I'm excited about going up there. Like I said, I got a busy weekend coming up, but I was like, "You know what? That's only like a 3-hour drive. I could
Yeah.
do it." And, I'm gonna have to hit and run. I told
Yeah.
Christina that, I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna speak. And out of all topics, they want me to speak on gangs and violence. I was like, "Really?"
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I know something about them 2 things, right? But, yeah, I'm honored, to be able to speak up there, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I plan on going up Thursday night and, just so I'm rested. I don't gotta just at
Yeah.
first I was thinking I'll just leave early in the morning and just make it right in, but I was like, "Nah, I don't wanna be tired from the
Well, we'll be there.
drive," and
We'll be there if you need anything. If
yeah,
you need
no,
any
we'll be there.
support, we're there for you.
Yeah, I'm actually Alan, I'm gonna be staying with I'm gonna spend the night at Randy Harrell's house. Yeah, so you guys that don't know who Randy Harrell was, that's my ex Sally, who was a lifer, did like 25 years. That's our
Ah,
connection. I'm still real, real close to hundreds of lifers. You know what I mean? So he's up there. So he opened up his
ah,
home. So he said, "Yeah, come up here."
beautiful.
He said, "We'll go out for a late dinner and
Mhm.
wake up early, go get some breakfast." And he's a part of CCAP too, so he's going to
Okay.
go as well. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah, he
That's
works
cool.
up there in Tulare somewhere, does some
Yeah,
things.
California.
Yeah,
Just invite all California to
yeah,
trap families.
that's
I
right.
told Christine I wanted you to do a podcast right there live.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that would have been awesome right there because
Yeah,
all of California is going to be there from San Diego to San
yeah.
Francisco, all the way up to Pelican Bay.
I'm sure it'll be fun, though. I'm sure I'm going to see some people that I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
It's usually like that, but yeah, my wife was like, "You better be back by Saturday. It's my son's birthday, and
Mm,
then we have a funeral to go to, so there's a lot going on this
right.
weekend." So I'm like, "I'll be there, though." I told Christina, "I'll be there for sure."
Cool.
So looking forward. Thank you for putting my name out there. I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah. She
that.
called
It's
me.
always an honor to be able to share, my experiences and give
Yeah.
some hope. Before we do go though, Yvonne, if you don't mind, just one quick last minute, 2 minute, just shout out to that daughter, that mother, whoever that's, feeling that pain. They've been touched by you. If you could just like close it out with one last inspirational.
Yeah. My thing is repairing generational trauma. Do everything that we can to heal that next generation. And if I could say anything to anybody out there is forgive your parents. Forgive your parents. In my case, I had to forgive my mom so that my daughters would forgive me and their children will forgive them. And I think forgiveness is going to heal a lot. It heals families. So if you're out there, just continue to work on forgiveness. Forgiveness takes us a lot of places. And when I say forgiveness, doesn't mean we have to be a doormat or we have to let people mistreat us. It's just let go of that resentment because resentment kills. John Crison said, resentment kills the spirit, and we need that spirit to flourish, so that, again, it's all about that next generation that has no clue that we can save them from not going down the path of incarceration or suicide or addiction, So I just want to thank you for letting me be of service, for letting me be here. It's an honor.
Thank you. Yeah, Yvonne, thank you so much. And Alan, thank you for joining us. I know you're in the back stages right here, but appreciate her husband being here with us. And don't forget to go on to Amazon and purchase your book, Connecting the Dots. Okay. Get it, read it, and then bless it with somebody else. Encourage somebody else to get it. Connecting the Dots. That's what it looks like.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you,
So
Joe.
yeah, we put up the exact purchase connecting the dots. Yeah, just go on Amazon, you'll find it, and I'm sure you'll be blessed by it. So one last thing is, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you're always notified when we do go live. Oh, and there's the flyer too. Good job, Robert. Robert picked it up. So if you're looking at that flyer, screenshot that, do what you got to do, and don't forget the website's on there as well. And yeah, man, we'll see you guys next Sunday. We have a lively one next week. You're gonna love this story next week, man. The brother coming on. I mean, oh my goodness. I'm not even going to touch on it. I'm just going to wait until next week. But stay posted for next Sunday, 6 o'clock. We will be going live once again. Appreciate all the support. God bless you guys. Have a good week.